Welcome to the Globetrottin ADs. This podcast is for you, athletic directors, activity coordinators, coaches, and program associates based in international schools around the world. The Globetrottin ADs is proudly hosted by Nick DeForest from the American International School Vienna and Matt Fleming from the American International School of Budapest. Here they are now, Nick and Matt and the Globetrottin ADs.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Globetrottin ADs. We're glad to be back. We're halfway through our fall, actually a little more than halfway through the fall season now, as we head into the winter months soon. So with that comes some conference times for a lot of us and the chance to go do some professional development. So we're really happy today to have with us Phil Rison, who's the Associate Executive Director of the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association, the NIAAA. So Phil is going to give us some updates about the conference and going-ons with the NIAAA. So we're going to dig into that a little bit. But before we do that, I'm going to say hello to my good buddy Nick over there in Vienna. Hi, Nick.
Yeah, hey, Matt. Hey, Phil. Yeah, it is a month away from the conference, so that is on all of our minds, and I know a lot of people around the world, so I thought it was a great time, Phil, to have you on. You've been on before briefly on the online conference a couple years ago. You gave us some thoughts about that, but this is the first time having you on as the main guest, so welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Matt and Nick. It's great to be here and be a part of sharing with your listeners and talking about something I'm very passionate about, and that's athletic administration and especially what's coming up our national conference.
Yeah, super. Well, before we get into that, I love listening to your accent, and I know people already that maybe don't know you have picked up on something. Why don't you just kick us off with a little bit of a background about yourself and how long with the NIAAA, that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm sure you got that northern accent, figured out when you first hear me talk. People say, "You're from where?" And I'm like, "Well, our offices are in Indianapolis, but I'm a transplant. I'm kind of a foreigner in a strange land. I spent pretty much my whole life and career in central Kentucky, a little town called Mount Sterling, about 30 miles east of Lexington, which is the central Kentucky hub of Kentucky. And they just had the Breeders' Cup there this past weekend. And, of course, the Derby's in Louisville. But, so pretty much spent my whole career there in Kentucky. As primarily my first 9 years, I was a teacher coach. I was a business education major. Decided, and, really the story behind that is I didn't know if I wanted to go into education for sure. And so I decided I'm going to go the business education route. That way, if I don't like, being in education, then at that point, maybe have some avenue to fall back on, maybe banking or finance or accounting or something like that. And it worked out really well. I really enjoyed teaching. I enjoyed coaching. I enjoyed being around the young men and young women. And so my first 9 years, I taught business and coached basketball and baseball. And then my principal came to me and said, "Hey, we'd like for you to be the athletic administrator." And he said, "You got a business degree." He said, "I think you could be really organized." And kind of handed me the keys and said, "Here, congratulations." And from there, it was a learning experience of what had happened in the past and trying to promote some positive things in the future. And so for the next 21 years, I was engaged in several different roles as an athletic administrator, primarily as an assistant principal AD, and then was promoted to central office as our director of operations for our district, and was kind of over transportation, buildings and grounds, food service, and athletics, which pretty much kind of all intertwines and relates together. And so then from there, I was promoted to assistant superintendent my last 7 years, and pretty much filled that out and tried to work in a great community, in a great district. And my wife and I, Paula, we raised our kids there, and I retired after 30 years, and I just assumed right prior to retirement the executive director's position for the state of Kentucky, replacing the longtime Jim Watkins, who's been our executive director. And so I got to work at that at 18 months. And in between bouncing around a little bit in the sense of that, I'd also served on our NIAAA board. And so when Bruce Whitehead announced his retirement, I had some friends of mine colleagues that I'd served with on the board. They called me and they said, "Phil, you need to consider this position in Indianapolis." And I kind of said, "My wife's not going to go to Indianapolis." No. I said, "Nah." I said, "I'm not." And so anyway, they kept calling back and saying, "You really need to consider this," and so forth. And I talked to my wife about it, and she said, "No, I'm not interested." And one thing led to another, and the next thing you know, I put in an application, and now, long story short, we've been here 7 years. And so we moved 3.5 hours, relocated 3.5 hours, bought a home here in Indianapolis, here in Carmel, and we've absolutely loved it. As talking to Matt there earlier, it's a great place. It's a sports community, it's a sports town, and it's fun. And working with some awesome people. And then the other thing is getting to work with what I call the salt of the earth, the greatest educational professionals in the world, and that's our athletic administrators.
That's great. So in your time there, when you were in Kentucky and working in those various roles at the school district, when did you start working with the NIAAA or starting to get exposed to the different PD opportunities?
Well, great question, Matt. 1996 was my first AD job. So in 1997, primarily, I went to my first conference, which is in New Orleans, which was a definitely, as you said, being a first-time attendee. So I started getting engaged with the NIAAA there. I was already engaged primarily with our state association. So I started teaching at our state association, and Jim Watkins and Jim Teff, two of our longtime professional development directors and coordinators, kind of asked me if I have an interest in teaching the legal courses. And they said, "You'd be working with a gentleman named Lee Green, Dr. Lee Green." And I'm like, okay, and from that point on until I came on the board, primarily, which I came on the board in Grapevine, Texas in 2009. I taught legal courses. At that point, we just had 504 and 506. During that time period, we added 508, which was primarily our employment course. And then 510 has since been added. So I taught with Lee Green for those years, got engaged through that. And quite honestly, Matt, I got to serve on the board. If you know our rotation, Kentucky's in Section 2. There are 8 states in Section 2. So if you look at it, a board member, if you look at that rotation, Kentucky gets a board member once every 24 years. Wow. So ideally, I kind of just happened to be at the right place at the right time with my tenure in Kentucky. I just finished serving as the president for the Kentucky AD Association. Mm-hmm. And at that point, when the seat came up for Kentucky, everybody kind of said in the state, "Well, Phil, that's yours. You need to do that." So at that point, I went on to the NIAAA board in 2009 and ended up serving there until I completed primarily in 2014 after serving as president in 2013. So really, Matt, I just got engaged, and people ask me all the time, "How'd you get involved?" And I said, I just kind of raised my hand and said, "Hey, need somebody to do something? I'll be glad to do it," And that's kind of how I got engaged. And from that, I found great people that will, lift and assist, as Rich Barton always says, that will lift and assist you and help you and be a part of your journey. And I've had some great people, great individuals and mentors be a part of my journey.
Yeah, and I can definitely second that and attest to it, because that's been my experience with the NIAAA. That's how, we've been able to get going with the whole course development and workings with the international group. Is this, we just kind of raised our hands and said, we'll do that. And then next thing you know, we're heading down to Indianapolis to spend time at your office there and working on developing a plan. So that's one thing I know I've always appreciated about the NIAAA. There are always folks that are ready to help, which is great.
Yeah, they are.
For sure. A whole nother perspective for us internationals, for people that maybe haven't made their way to a conference. There's still time for this year, but it's a whole nother experience when you see how many ADs there are around you. You know, when you could be in some of these countries, Phil, where there's one AD in the whole country because there's one international
Correct.
school, and then there's probably 300-400 in Kentucky, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. And you look at our largest state, which is New York, you're talking about, 800 ADs. And when you think about their network just for their state,
right.
And as you said, and as we work through our international initiative, you all have been a great, a vital part of building. It's kind of like the old adage is build it and they will come. Well, if you look at it, we kind of built some courses, and now we've added some certification, and there's still a lot of other things we need to continue to do in order to reach out. And I know we have several workshops designated primarily at our conference just for the international athletic administrators. So we continue to try to reach out. We're also here in our office working on a new initiative for middle school athletic administrators because we feel like that's another area where we can reach out and maybe offer them some resources and support to help them.
Right. Well, that's great. Continue to grow. Yeah. Great. Well, let's talk about Nashville. It's on my mind almost constantly right now, getting ready. What courses? We had a 9-10 meeting today, actually, to fine-tune that. From your side, I know you and all the people in the office are working hard for it. So how's the planning going right now?
Well, Nick, it's I can't. We had another meeting this morning. We pretty much have check-in meetings every morning to make sure we're taking care of all of the items maybe that we need to make sure we pack and have prepared to put on the semi to take to Nashville. But first of all, the enrollment numbers are just busting at the seams. Registration numbers. We currently right now we're at over almost 2,400. Athletic administrators retired and spouses in total. Right now, that puts us at our second largest conference ever. We're about 100 short of breaking our all-time record.
Wow.
And we still have, as I think Matt said it, we still have 4 weeks left so we still have 4 weeks of registration.
Right.
So we're excited about that. Our leadership training numbers are at 1,500. So we've got a full array, and we're offering every course. And as you all mentioned, 910, you talked about 910. It's one of our newest courses for the international. It's a current events course. Really excited about it and it being offered, and the opportunity for that to be an ongoing course that just basically stays abreast of what changes are taking place, and then is able to assist our international members. And as you all know, being the teachers you are, you might have an international course. You look up and there will be ADs from all over the country, especially from the United States, that want to be a part of that course as well. So, but the numbers are really good. We're excited about the lineup that we have, the 40 workshops. And as I already mentioned, I'll share with you those workshops with the international. I think the international workshops are managing change, balancing traditions with moderation, and then the other international workshop I think that we have scheduled is student athlete leadership. Yeah. So when you think about it, and again, you think about what we're offering, we're trying to potpourri a little bit, meet things for everyone there. Right. Plus, the one thing I've always said is that as an athletic administrator, you work so hard. That also, when you come to Nashville, we want you to have a little fun too. And I think, Nashville has proven itself over, in 2016. And if you've ever gone there before, it's a great town. Yeah. And the Gaylord's a great property, and excited about that. So it's been really good, and planning's going well. We feel good where we're at, but it's kind of like being in the school business. When school's going well, you don't really want to talk about it because you're afraid you'll either have a moon change or something, and the next thing you know, something goofy happens. So we don't really talk about it.
The power goes out in the building, Phil.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you got to be ready. So you just we just kind of keep our nose to the grindstone a little bit and just keep working.
So 2,400 as of today, roughly. So what do you think you guys will top out at, or is there a projection for that?
Well, our first concern, Matt, is that, we have, it's kind of like there's no more room at the end. We have no rooms at the Gaylord. So that's always a concern. Will that slow down our registration? We have put on our website several other hotels that we've been able to work with and negotiate that. Some even offer a shuttle to the Gaylord, which would help, that as well. And so we worry a little bit about that, but we're hoping to get somewhere in that total, somewhere 26 to 2,700, maybe 28. If we can get 2,200 ADs and 2,300 ADs, and then add retired ADs with that, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. It really is.
Yeah, that is, and it really is like a whole. You said a potpourri. There's so many different things with the fair, and then especially I think for the internationals is seeing the city that it's in, experiencing some new things. Especially if we're flying, 10, 12, I think a couple up to close to 20 hours to get there.
Sure.
You want to have some fun in the downtime, I guess, from the conference. Yeah. Yeah.
Some of you try to coordinate hopefully our conference, and we're a little earlier this year, but coordinate your conference primarily maybe with coming back to the States, maybe during the holidays or whatever. But we're a little early this year. If you look at Orlando next year, we won't finish until I think the 19th or the 20th. So we're a week earlier this year than we will be next year.
Okay. That's good to know. For us playing.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Actually, me too. Next year, maybe to stay and combine it with the Christmas break.
Sure.
Yeah.
There you go. Go to you can go to Disney. That'd be great. Yeah. Universal.
Well, my mom has a place down there in not near Orlando, but a couple hours away. So I'll be extending my stay in Florida, I'm pretty sure, after the conference finishes up. So
Florida's. I hope your mother wasn't in any of the area that was hit, because certain parts it was just.
Her place is a little bit inland down there in Naples.
Okay.
So be able to avoid any direct hit of anything, so that was good. So.
Yeah.
So with the keynotes, any word about the keynotes or anything you want to share with us about that? And along those lines, how did you guys decide on who you were going to pick for this year?
It's a great question, Matt. We have what's called a conference advisory committee that consists of, in our partnership and collaboration with the National Federation, they choose 4 and we choose 4 from the standpoint of representatives, usually sectional representation, similar to our board. So let's take Section 1, for example, where Section 2, as I mentioned and referred to earlier, we have 8 states. So it kind of rotates, and you will pick a state that will pick someone to serve on that advisory board. And they meet every January, right after the conference. And part of their charge is to evaluate the conference that just occurred. We spend one day in an evaluation process, and then the second day we spend in a process of planning for the next one. And so part of that is throughout the course of the year, we'll get suggestions and ideas from states, from members, saying, hey, I heard this individual, I need to consider them as a speaker or as a keynote or someone that can, and so what we do is we collect all that data, and then we divide that conference advisory committee up into 2 groups. One group will work on workshops, primarily the 40 workshops, and look at their titles and things like that and potential presenters. And then another group works on primarily the keynote speakers. And so what we'll do is take the keynote, and we might have a video segment of them that maybe lasts, 3 minutes or 4 minutes. We'll watch that, and it's kind of like, I guess you would say The Voice. If you think of American TV, The Voice, or, America's Got Talent or whatever, then you kind of rank them. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, you have discussions about them, and you say, we like it. And we always look at that with the lens of diversity, trying to have a lens of diversity from the standpoint and representation. And I think we've done a really great job with that, so forth. But this year, quite honestly, Inky has been on our radar for about the last 3 years. And it just worked out with his home office being in Atlanta, Georgia, that this really worked out for us, and we were able to get him. Jeremy Boone, who athlete by design, who has worked some with some of our cohort groups, and just an outstanding motivator and an outstanding speaker. So really excited about both of them. But both of those came to the forefront and were chosen. And we do that with an eye on this year. But as we were going through it, we also had an eye on next year, looking at next year's presenters and speakers. And again, I don't want to budget does figure into this. Yeah. As we reach out to them, we want to make sure, I'm an old Cincinnati Reds baseball fan, so I'll give you an example. I mean, to go get Johnny Bench, I'd love to have Johnny Bench come, but we just can't afford it, or I'd love to have Pete Rose come, but we just can't afford it. And it's a situation like that. So where we're trying to find the balance of that educational scope that makes a presentation. And I don't, if you'll remember, you two will remember, in National Harbor, right before the pandemic, we had Dr. Adolph Brown.
Right. He was great.
And he was fabulous. Yeah. And I had seen Dr. Brown at a conference 3 years prior to, while I was still in education. And I walked out of there and I'm thinking, man, well, this guy, he brings it every day. You better pack a lunch and whatever. And so none of our people knew him. And so I just put his video up, showed a little segment of his video, and he immediately went straight to the top. So again, it's kind of a committee. Our conference advisory committee works through that, makes those, formulates those decisions, and seeks input from the members on whom we try to reach out to.
That's great. There hasn't been a bad, or no, I won't even say that. There hasn't been a speaker that wasn't great, in all my years. So I'm looking forward to both.
Well, thanks for saying that. That's great. And it's good because I really want them, and I don't know how you all feel about it, but I want them kind of when I walk out there, I feel good about what I'm doing. Yeah. And I also want them, they understand the role that we have in working with our students on a daily basis and our coaches.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, we're talking about the conference. For anyone out there, a little bit of a plug for us. Join Matt and I, and Phil, of course, in Nashville. adconference.org is the website. All the things we're talking about are there. Write Matt and I if you have any questions. We're really trying to bring the international community together. We had a couple socials. We have an international WhatsApp group for everyone attending the conference. We try to meet up at all different points, and it'd be great to add to that group. So there's still time to make this the biggest conference yet, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And what's great about it too is they always give us a nice breakdown of the international folks coming and where they're coming from. And I think our highest pass has been upwards of almost 100, which is pretty good for our group. Yeah. But the networking opportunities, of course, are fantastic, and not just with ourselves as international ADs, but also with the stateside folks. So it's always good.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it is, I mean, you develop relationships
for sure
across the world, and that's what's so great. Right. And the thing about it is then you end up collaborating or working with, and to me, that's, when you think about it, it's really unique. And again, I've never heard an athletic administrator say, "No, I can't do that. I don't want to be a part of that." Because once they get in it and they see it, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is awesome." So,
Kukri are a global multi-sport clothing brand specializing in providing the world's most prestigious schools with bespoke-made and designed team uniforms for students of all standards and abilities. If you are frustrated by inconsistent colors, branding, costs, and sizing across your school's uniforms, then it's time to discuss an offering where every sport is available from softball to soccer for male and female athletes at rates to suit your budget. To find out how Kukri could elevate the apparel of your student athletes to a professional level, email the team at contact@kukrisports.com. A dedicated sales manager will offer you a quote today. Mention this ad and receive a special offer on your coach or PE staff order. Well, this is will be a last conference for you in some ways. The last is the associate executive director. You're the incumbent executive director right now. What's you looking forward to that? What's it feel like moving up to the top of the pyramid in the NIAAA?
Well, I don't know if we would classify it as a pyramid. First of all, I think we classify it primarily as just a leadership team.
Yeah.
I like the word team. I believe in team, and as I shared with you all earlier, when Paula, my wife, and I moved up here, never did we come with the intention of, someday I want to be the executive director. I came, and she supported that, the intention of wanting to serve. I'd been a part of something, and I just wanted to continue to be a part of it. And I just wanted to continue to serve and get to meet great people, get the opportunity to go around throughout the country and talk about and support and advocate on behalf of athletic administration. So fortunately for me, I got to work with Dr. Mike Blackburn, and he's just been awesome. It's, the adage in our office is he's ice and I'm fire. So we're fire and ice. Okay. And I'm okay with that. My father told me a long time ago, you got to be comfortable in your own shoes always. And you have to know yourself and your personality. And I'm very enthusiastic, and Mike's kind of real calm, and so it's just been a joy the last, 6+ years. And so, when he finally decided that he was retiring, at that point, the board, I was very humble that the board felt, confident enough to elevate me into that position. And since that point, it's just kind of been a roller coaster, a whirlwind a little bit. We've tried to hire my replacement, and we ultimately ended up, just for your listeners out there, I tell people all the time, well, it took 2 to replace me, but that's not really true. Okay. And it kind of what happened, if you look at it, is that our strategic plan, our 5th strategic plan, had in there consideration of adding another executive leadership. And what happened was Sharice DeBose, which you all know Sharice, who had been working in our marketing prior to this transition, she took another position. And when she left, we kind of had an opportunity there to maybe take her responsibilities and combine that into another director type situation and whatever. And that's what we've done. Yeah. And so we were able to hire Rich Barton and Becky Moran. And I just can't tell you how excited we are about that. Big Rich is known by everybody, and he's got a network that, goes global everywhere. And then Becky is, she's an attention to detail, so organized, and she's kind of overseeing our marketing. So to answer your question, I guess, Nick, what's it feel like? It doesn't feel any different. Mm-hmm. It's just, I'm just going to move down the hallway a little bit and probably be more worried about primarily the operational component and the financial component than my past responsibilities of primarily being worried, concerned and leading leadership training and certification. Okay. Rich is going to kind of take that. And so I'm probably, I don't want to say I'm going to be hands off, but I'm going to be in a different area. And that's part of our meetings daily, has been that training and transition. So I'm excited. I'm humbled. I love our association, and just fortunate enough to be again, as I shared with you, being from Kentucky, I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, to get on the board. And so, I just happened to be here working and been fortunate enough for us to have experienced some growth. And our goal is to continue to try to reach out and continue to serve with the same enthusiasm and with the same opportunity that we can give our members for them to be better athletic administrators.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
That's great. So they have a good plan in place, and I just want to say congratulations on the appointment. And I know the NIAAA is going to be in good hands with you there and with the rest of the team. So a lot of bright things in the future for the organization, for sure.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. All right. Well, those are some awesome updates about the the conference, a little bit about you, your new role there. This is all good stuff. So as we wrap things up here, one of the things we like to do we get folks from everywhere, of course, in the Globetrottin ADs podcast. And one of the things we always like to ask folks is what's their favorite place to go to, or maybe something cool about where they are at. So we heard a little bit about where you're at in Indy, and we've been there before a little bit for visiting and going to the NIAAA headquarters. So do you have a favorite place that you've traveled to, or you like to travel to, or would like to go back to?
I think of two places, Matt. First of all, one would be there in my home state in Kentucky. If you've ever heard of it's called the Red River Gorge, and it's a beautiful area there. And right in, I guess you would say it's kind of where the bluegrass kisses the mountains a little bit as you start into the Appalachian area. And it is just absolutely, especially in the fall, to go on a hike or to go on their trails, it's just absolutely just beautiful and gorgeous. And I live close enough to that we were able to experience that. And we really enjoyed that tremendously. So if you've never been to the Red River Gorge, I would encourage to go see that. Natural Bridge is there. It's just it's really phenomenal. And then probably for me, I'm at traveling. I did a mission trip one time for 10 days to Guatemala. Really enjoyed that and got to go to Antigua. And I'd never seen the beauty I'd seen that I witnessed there from the standpoint of seeing, the volcanoes and being able to just see God's beauty, the nature. We really enjoyed that. Even though we were kind of on a working mission, we took a day out to really have some fun, and it was great. And then, of course, being in this position, I got to go to Hawaii, and that was just phenomenal. I mean, I don't know if you can wake up and have a bad day there. So,
yeah, what's the likelihood of an NIAAA conference in Hawaii?
I don't foresee that in the near future, just based on feasibility, but it would be absolutely
or maybe a great association visit.
State conference, right? You can be an out-of-stater to go to state conferences, right? You don't have to be from the
That's
state.
right. Yeah. And they're so hospitable. It's just it's a fun place, and Paul and I went for the first time, and it was just it was beautiful. Yeah.
Great.
Awesome. Well, Phil, thanks for taking the time out of your work day in your office there to share a little bit about yourself and the conference, and I look forward to seeing you in about a month.
Thank you both, Nick and Matt, and thank you for what you're doing. The work you're putting in, the foundation you're laying for the International Athletic Administrators, and you're teaching and sharing your talents. The NIAAA, we're a volunteer organization, and without individuals like yourself, we're only as good as the people that make up our organization, and you two are two outstanding ones that not only have helped us internationally, but have also helped our whole conference be a true fruition of basically a global concept of athletic administration. So thank you.
Until next week, this has been another episode of the Globetrottin ADs.